Right.
Roger that.
Perfect. We are live. There we go. Welcome, everyone. Make sure to get live transcript on for you folks. There we go. Let us know where you're coming from in the chat, folks. Happy Thursday. Here we are, almost the end of June already. I can't believe it. Hello, hello. All the way from Cornwall. I have family out in Cornwall, actually. Welcome, folks. Make sure as well when you do join up to pop your chat over to all panelists, all attendees. This way everyone gets to see where folks are coming from. Welcome, Georgia, Virginia, Michigan, some great folks from down south. Welcome, everyone. Happy Thursday. We're back. Hello, Riley, North Carolina, Toronto. Hope everyone's doing well. Getting excited. Between July 1 to July 4 next week is some nice holiday time for everyone. Really excited. Have a little bit of time off, get some R&R in there. Hello, Victoria, BC, Colorado, New Mexico, Missouri. Wow, folks, welcome. We'll get started in a couple minutes. Don't worry. Some more folks, Toronto area, Mississippi. I would love to know how everyone is doing. Alberta, welcome, folks. Some more folks from out Calgary. Also have a fantastic group of friends out in Calgary and some family as well. Haven't seen them for a little while. Of course, that's what happens when you're in one province to the next. A little Myrtle Beach, welcome. Oh, some folks in from Trinidad as well. Hi, Nova Scotia. Welcome, Tanzania. Couple of minutes, folks, we will get in to the fun stuff. Oh, some folks are enjoying the outdoors. It is beautiful. If you haven't been out and you're here in the Toronto area or in Southern Ontario, please do get outside today. I went for a fantastic walk on my lunch and it was just so nice. It's warm, it's comfortable. Please do get outside. Hopefully folks around the world have a chance to get out because it's been beautiful down this way. So, hi, Texas, Illinois, Windsor area. Welcome, everyone. 2 or 3 minutes, we'll get started. Glad to have you all joining us today. We've got Golden Lake, more Ontario folks. Oh, thank you so much, Teresa. We're so glad you're enjoying the webinars. Glad to have you with us. Don't forget, Miss Kaya just posted in the chat. We would love for you folks to sign up for our newsletter. Tons of great things come out through there, as well as we get into the housekeeping bits. I need to come up with a better way to cut the music, but let's get started. Welcome everyone to another HiMama Helps webinar. We're talking about technology in the early ed space. This is a really exciting piece, especially as we do roll out of COVID, hopefully stay that way, fingers crossed. It's something that definitely, has changed the way we view a lot of things, and not just in early ed, and across the board, there's been a huge impact of technology. So we're gonna be talking a little bit more about it, but before we do, as always, if this is your first webinar with us, if this is your 50th webinar with us, you'll probably heard me say this before, but please, 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 we are not the faces of legal or financial advice. By no means did I go to law school, and I am probably the last person you would like to take any sort of legal advice from. So at the end of the day, we want you to take away tips, tricks, techniques, even just questions in your mind that you're thinking a little bit about your classroom, about your center, about what's happening wherever you may be or whatever you're doing. We want to get you thinking about what you can, maybe even some changes you could be making. So make sure to consult the right people before you do make any drastic changes. So obviously let be your licensing rep, maybe your board of directors if you have some, or if you're not sure, seeking legal or financial advice, of course, with the appropriate things. So just to make sure, let's jump in, give a quick listen to our land acknowledgement.
HiMama acknowledges that our main headquarters is situated in Toronto, Ontario, on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. Toronto itself is a word that originates from the Mohawk word takaranto, meaning the place in the water where the trees are standing. As participants and guests in today's webinar, we are coming together from many different places around the world. We encourage you to learn about and acknowledge the land from which you participate.
And we're just going to give a quick listen to our diversity and inclusion statement.
HiMama is committed to fostering an inclusive and welcoming environment for our employees, customers, and community. HiMama welcomes and celebrates individuals of all backgrounds, orientations, and identities. Our Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee aims to ensure we provide a safe environment for everyone to thrive while bringing their authentic selves to work. Our mission is to promote an inclusive workspace for all employees through education, discussion, and celebration of our differences. Embracing these differences while coming together with a common purpose is what makes our team extra special.
Very special indeed. All right, as always, we are recording the whole session. So if you do have to leave us, sadly, we hope you don't. But if you do, we are recording and you can access the recording later. It will be made available by early next week. For those who are looking for some live transcript, we do have that going on. So you can hit the CC tab. We have that going as well for the recording. So it will be available for you if you do need so. Next up, the certificates, the recording, the show notes, everything will be sent out to you. So if you are with us in the live session, it will be sent to you by early next week as well with the show notes. And if you do access the recording, there will be a certificate there for you to download as well from the download email. So everything will be there. Please don't be shy if you have any questions. Last but not least, if you're having any issues with Zoom, please do seek support.zoom.us. They're the best people to help you out when it comes to any issues that you might be having with Zoom. I always joke and say there's a reason why I have husband IT. Sadly, I'm not the best when it comes to IT. Getting better though, getting better. So if you've never heard of us, I want to take a moment just to, hey, I shouldn't say remind you, but at the same side, let you know there's so many cool things here at HiMama that we can help you out, whether you be a direct owner, whether you be an educator in the classroom, doesn't matter. There's so many pieces, and we actually would love for you to check us out, get to know us, get to see what's happening on our side, and check out the app a little bit more. And we'd love for you to join the HiMama family if you haven't yet. We'd love to chat with you more. Of course, there's tons and tons of resources as well on our websites, from our podcast to all of our blog articles to all of our webinars, of course. And knowing that we have tons of activities as well out there for folks who, if you're looking for anything, please don't be shy. Like I said, there's tons on our website as well. So last up, before we jump into the fun of everything that we love to do on our HiMama Helps webinars, I'm Ria. I'm one of the early childhood educators here at HiMama. I'm also the community ambassador, and I'm super, super excited for today. This week is HiMama's 8th birthday. I'm just happy to be a part of it. I've seen lots of change over the last couple of years being with HiMama. And of course, on the chat, my colleague, my partner in crime, Miss Kaya, get on over here. I don't have any fun facts today, Kaya, just that it's HiMama's birthday. I'm just super excited and very proud to be a part of the changes that have come.
Yeah, I know it's been an amazing journey together. So happy to be part of this amazing community and this amazing company and family. So happy birthday to us. Our birthday is actually tomorrow. So a little pre-celebration. I should have got my party hat. I don't even have my HiMama hat on me. Who am I? I'll get that for the end though, I promise.
There you go. We'll hold you to it.
yeah. Very excited for today's session though. Can't wait to hear from Ron.
I am as well. And without further ado, I'm going to bring the man himself on, Ron, our CEO, our co-founder. I've had the pleasure of knowing Ron for the last 3 years, or 3 and a bit years, I should say. And it's been so exciting to be a part of the growth and the journey that HiMama has had over those last couple of years. But I'm excited to hand it over. Ron, you get on here with us as well. Excited to have you join us. Maybe if you want to start, Ron, maybe start us with a fun fact, if you have any. Put you in this seat.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on the show. I've heard great things about your webinars, so I'm happy.
Ron's always really busy, folks. This is we had to like cut the calendar in half to get you on here. I'm just kidding.
Fun fact about myself.
Yeah.
Some of my previous jobs are kind of interesting. So here's 3 of them. One is corn detasseling. If you don't know what that is, you can Google it. The second one is making toilet paper. Yep, you heard that right.
Oh, wow.
And the third is growing mushrooms. So there you go. 3 interesting jobs that I've had in the past.
Wow, Ron, this is we have conversation for later. I need some more answers, but I am gonna let you take it on from here. Ron's gonna jump in, folks. We'll take Q&A here at the end, but we'd love to continue on the chat. But Ron, the show is yours.
Cool. Thanks, Ria. Thanks everybody for joining us. And, I guess I'll just start off introducing myself a little bit more. I think some folks might know me as the co-founder and CEO of HiMama, along with my co-founder, Alana. We started HiMama in 2013, hence 8th birthday. I'm also the host of the Preschool Podcast, which is a passionate hobby of mine. We're over 250 episodes now, which is really exciting. Maybe even we have some former guests here and listeners. I live in Toronto with my wife, Sarah, and our 2 beautiful boys, Weston and Reed, who are turning 2 and 4 this year, and our fur baby Sheltie dog, Harley, which is a beloved office dog back in the days when we were in the office. I'm also really passionate about social enterprise. That's something we'll probably touch on a little bit here today as well. And really passionate about raising the profile of early childhood education and early childhood educators. And Ria and Kai asked me to come on the show and onto the webinar today to talk a little bit more about technology. So obviously I'm the CEO of a technology company. So they figured I'd be a good person to talk to this a little bit and, hopefully get some value out of it and have some good takeaways. So I'm just going to share my screen and we'll dive into it. Alrighty, so I figured if we're talking about technology, the first question is why technology? All right, so starting with the basics, and these are some common reasons that we hear at HiMama, and maybe some of these resonate with you. And if you go on websites for software and technology, oftentimes they list some of these things as well, like saving time, saving money, recording your data, whether that's in the classroom or for your childcare center, sharing information with other stakeholders. Maybe that's sharing information from the classroom with parents, or as a director, administrator with your educators. Getting reports and running reports is another common thing that folks look for. But I like to sort of frame things a bit differently. So for me, I don't feel like any of these are really reasons to get software. I think there's different reasons. And one of the things that I like as like a framework is the 5 whys. And I don't know if some of you maybe have heard of this before, but it's a really great way to get sort of like to the root cause of something. And I'm applying it here in the context of why you might choose to use technology in your childcare center or in your classroom. But you can apply this for a lot of other things in your work and in your life as well. So let's say if we go with the first example I gave on the last slide, I want to save time. That's why I feel like I want to use technology. So the first why is, why do I need to save time? Because I'm so busy there aren't enough hours in a day. And I'm sure a lot of you here on today's webinar can relate to that. So that begs the question, well, why am I so busy? Because I have a million things to do. That's why I'm so busy. Well, why do I have a million things to do? Because I'm the only one that can do these million things. If somebody else could do them, then that would be great. But I'm the only one that can do them. So that's why I'm so busy. Why am I the only person who can do these million things? Because I don't have staff to do these things for me. So this is taken in the context of, maybe I'm the director, administrator, owner of a childcare program. But again, if you're an educator, for example, you can apply these as well. And The other thing I encourage all educators to think about is to think from the lens of as if you were the director or owner of the childcare program that you're in, because it's very helpful to build your leadership thinking if you're sort of thinking from that lens too. So then the question's, why don't I have the staff? Why don't I have the staff to do these things for me? Because I can't afford them. So that, that's probably something that resonates with a lot of folks is, we don't all have just money sitting around to hire people to do things for us. So why can't I afford more staff? And you can see I'm going beyond 5 whys. The 5 whys can turn into 6 whys, 7 whys, 8 whys, however many whys, because I don't make enough money. So why don't I make enough money? Because my enrollment is low, maybe. Why is my enrollment low? I'm not attracting enough parents. Why am I not attracting enough parents? I don't have a unique service offering to parents. So maybe they're going to another childcare program, or I just don't really stand out enough, or they don't notice me. And so then the question is, why don't I have a unique service offering? I'm not thinking about and addressing my parent experience. So, maybe I'm so busy doing these million things in my childcare program and trying to save time that I'm not spending time thinking about what's my offering to parents and what is their experience like, from a perspective of joining our wait list, registering, their day-to-day experience with interacting with the teachers and the educators. These are all questions that you might want to think about. So maybe I really need software to improve my parent experience. That's just one example of how you might use the 5 whys in this specific case for technology. But again, I think it's a really helpful framework for any problem you're facing. And so really, this is an example of a problem that a technology solution can help solve. So again, we started out thinking about, I want to save time, but we actually came to a very different reason why we felt we needed that technology. So in this case, it's a solution to help solve all these things, the unique offering to parents, attracting more parents, increasing enrollment, getting more money to get more staff. So you're not the only one that's doing everything. And then you don't have to do a million things, which means you can get more time back in your day. So that you don't need software to save time anymore, because you've saved yourself the time by increasing enrollment and increasing the support network that you have around you, which means you can take a well-deserved day off, which is something that I think lots of folks here on the webinar certainly deserve. And hopefully you've had the chance to do that recently, or you will, because I know it's been a very busy time. So, the next thing is like the question of, how do you think about what technology solutions to work with? Assuming you figured out, okay, here's my problem I'm trying to solve. What's the solution? There's so much technology out there. So what to do? Again, I would say, remember what is the problem you're trying to solve. And I think, you can go through the 5 whys framework, but I think, ultimately there's one problem that I think everybody in early childhood education is trying to solve. And that's positively impacting children's well-being and development. So I think that's sort of another way to think about technology, is just ask yourself this question: is this technology, directly or indirectly, going to positively impact children's well-being and development in my classroom, in my center, in my home childcare program, whatever that may be? If the answer to this is yes, then it could be good for you. Again, it could be indirectly though, right? So, there's some more direct ways that technology can do this. So, with HiMama, for example, you're improving relationships with families by having that direct communication and providing more information about children's learning and development, so that parents and families can also participate in that, which we all know is very valuable to impacting a child's development, is involving families. But it could also be indirect too, right? So, if you are using the software, let's say, to do developmental observations of children's development, that in itself is not necessarily improving children's development. But if you can use that to then inform your lesson planning and base that lesson plans on children's individual and unique development, and then apply that in your classroom, then you are having an impact on children's development. So that's a couple of examples. The other thing I really would encourage everyone to do whenever you make a decision about who you decide to partner with or work with when solving a problem with technology is think about the fact that the choices you make about who you work with impact early childhood education at large. So, what are some of the questions you might ask here, for example? Who owns the technology company you want to work with? What are the motivations and goals of your technology partner? And I use the word partner purposefully here as well, because I personally don't think that technology should be seen as something transactional. You should seek out a partner that you trust when you look for a software or technology solution to support you. Just in the same way, like, I don't know, maybe some of you use an app like Uber or Lyft to get from point A to point B. What if all of a sudden there was a new app and some random person came to you and said, download this new app and you can get somebody to come pick you up. If you don't trust that app because you don't know what it's all about or what that company is all about, you would probably be a bit reluctant if somebody drove up to your house or work to pick you up if it wasn't from a trusted company or source. Is the leader of the company a passionate founder or a hired CEO, right? These are very different situations in companies, and so that's something else to think about. Do they understand the needs and challenges of educators and how? So at HiMama, we've been very purposeful to bring on early childhood educators like Ria and Kaya and others, so that folks like myself and others who don't have a background in early childhood education can help. They can help us understand some of those problems and challenges more directly. Do they see you as a partner by providing support and help, right? So again, kind of going back to the partner versus transactional comment, you want somebody that, if you're having challenges or you need help, you can call them or email them and get in touch with them to get some help. So I think those all, if you answer those questions and feel good about what you find, then I think you're in a good place. I'm always personally, I'm hesitant to partner with or use technology if I go to the website, for example, and I go to the About Us page, or a Contact Us page. What are they all about? And there's no information. It's just sort of like a mailing address or a phone number or something like that. I want to know who I'm working with. The other thing that I think is really important when it comes to technology is thinking about technology as an investment. What do you want to achieve in a year or 2 years from now? Because the reality is it takes time. So sometimes you've got to get buy-in from stakeholders on why you're using the technology. So training teachers, educators, others on using the technology. Maybe your parents are involved and you want to provide them with information as well about the technology. These things take time, so and take some effort. So you need to think of it as, if originally, going back to the original example, you wanted to save time, this is going to take time, but you have to think about it from the perspective of how much time that's going to save you in the medium to long run, so that you can be the person on the beach with the day off. But it does take that upfront investment, but it's well worth it. You might want to even upgrade or improve your processes at the same time. So, Back in my consulting days, when we thought about technology, we would always position technology in the context of technology, people, and process. It's never just technology. Technology comes with what process are you using the technology in? Maybe the technology provides an opportunity to improve your processes in your classroom or your center, and people, because people are always an important part of any change. And you're going to have to get familiar with maybe a new system or a process or way of doing things. So those are some things to think about when looking at technology, choosing technology. What about what not to do? This is something that I see a lot, is focusing on features. So I would say do not focus on technology that has the most features. Features don't necessarily mean better. It does mean more complexity, more training, more things to go wrong. Even for me in my personal life, like I tend to choose more and more products these days that are have less features, because it just means less things can go wrong. The more features that something has, the more can go wrong. Here's a good example. Do you want to use the remote on the left or the remote on the right? There's a pretty steep learning curve on one versus the other one, and a lot can go wrong with one versus the other. The other thing I would recommend is not to focus on the cheapest technology. So again, the transactional versus the partner. The old saying is true that you get what you pay for, and that's a saying for a reason, because it is true. Here's my example of Enterprise and U-Haul. I personally have had bad U-Haul experiences, so I kind of picked on them, but they are pretty renowned for being usually the cheapest moving vans, and also the ones that have the most issues. You'd rather spend a little bit more and make sure you safely get to wherever you're trying to get to. And here's another one that may be a little bit not intuitive, which is you might not want to focus on the technology that only benefits you. Half jokingly, I'm saying here, don't be selfish, but actually you should think about other stakeholders. So if you're a teacher, think about what technology are my parents going to love? What technology are my children really going to benefit from? Because if it benefits my children, if it benefits my parents, and they have a great experience with that, then that's going to benefit me at the end of the day. Same if you're a director, owner, administrator. If the educators in your center love using the technology, they're going to be happy. Happy educators, happy director. That all kind of flows through. The other thing you should think about too is sort of the multiplier effect, right? So let's say you're using a technology that benefits you in a certain way. Imagine if you could take that benefit, and let's say there's 10 educators in your childcare program, and those 10 educators get that same amount of benefit you did. Well, you just multiplied the benefit by 10. And then imagine the parents get that benefit. Then you just multiplied it even further. So I think that's another thing too that's easily lost, because when you look at technology, you're immediately thinking, which is natural, how would I use this? How is this going to benefit me? But sometimes you want to think about how is it going to benefit others, which in turn will actually benefit me more. And then just to wrap up here, which is a little bit the theme of this, which is, just thinking bigger about technology, thinking longer term, thinking about the investment, thinking a little bit less transactional. And so as an example, at HiMama, and what we aspire to achieve at HiMama, as an example, again, we're a social enterprise. For those of you who don't know, we're a certified B Corporation, which means we're a private company. We are a corporation, but we also consider all of our stakeholders when we make decisions. So our employees, our customers, our community, the environment, that's really important to us. And so for us, the future that we envision is a world where early childhood educators are as respected and recognized as nurses, and where parents value early childhood education more than a college education. For us, if we were to achieve that as a company, that would be amazing. And kind of going back to what I was just saying earlier, you'll notice here that this is about early childhood educators and parents. It doesn't talk about actually technology at all. It doesn't talk about HiMama specifically. It doesn't talk about me. It doesn't talk about our employees. It doesn't talk about our product. This is the goal we want to achieve. This is our objective. Just like your objective is to improve children's learning and development, this is our objective, is to do this, which will enable that. And if we can do that, maybe it's through our products, maybe it's through our technology, but that's the end goal. And so point being is that I think you should all think about technology in that same way, is what's it helping you really achieve? So, what do you aspire to achieve in your work and in your life is sort of the question I'll leave you with in the context of technology or anything else. This is, of course, always important to think about, but I'll leave us on that note, Ria, and we can dive into some conversation and questions from there.
I'm excited to dive into Q&A. Before we dive into Q&A, just to give you a moment to breathe there, Ron, we're gonna start off with a little poll here, and so folks should just be able to see the poll here in a moment. And I'm going to get everything set. It takes a minute to go through, but we just wanted to make sure we know who's joining us today. And Ron, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the chat at all, but we have tons of customers who've been echoing some of the things that you were saying, especially talking about like the support team, about talking about, the idea around like what is your end goal? Like, what are you trying to get at? What are you trying to achieve? Definitely the view on the beach. When I saw that, I think we all went, yeah, especially after COVID. All right. We have tons of educators who are joining us. And for our second question, it was around, do centers actually use tech right now? And we're getting, for the most part, a lot between parent communication and a little bit about lesson and planning and daily operations, which is not a big surprise. So I'm excited to jump into a couple of Q&A pieces that we have for you, Ron, here. All right, folks, one more minute. We'll give you a chance here to finish up the poll, but maybe Ron, while we dive in, maybe start us off with a quick question that I know the answer to, but I've definitely seen it come through in the chat. Why HiMama? Why did you name it? Well, I know not just you. This is a good question you get all the time.
It's actually, it's a story that a lot of people don't know. So HiMama actually started as an app for parents of young children. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like an alternative to Facebook. So let's say you're expecting a child and you want to be able to share like moments and memories of your child with your close family and friends. And lots of times these days, we don't live in the same places, right? We're living, our families overseas or across the country or in a different city. And you don't want to necessarily go post that on Facebook, when, let's say, for example, you've just given birth and there's like the picture in the hospital, but you do want to share that with your family. And that's what HiMama was all about, to share those moments and special moments and memories of your young children through the app, so that you would never forget them and you could always go back. And so the name HiMama was actually a really literal point, because the first picture in your journal in the app as a parent was like the stork, the stork delivering the baby. So the idea was, okay, you've given birth, and who's the first person that the baby sees? It's mama. So it was literally, hi mama, here I am.
I love that. And you're right. I don't think a lot of people really get the chance to hear that story and to hear that perspective of why it came to be. So let's jump in, pivoting a little bit. Of course, 8 years has been a pretty large change in how we view technology, and not just in the education space, but around the world. But maybe what has been the attitude change you've seen over the last several years when it comes to using tech, especially in early ed?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely shifted a lot. I think a couple things. So one is, there used to be sort of lots of different options and it was really confusing. And I talked a little bit about the partnership piece earlier.
Yes.
And it was kind of hard to know, let's say, 3-4 years ago, like, who's going to be my trusted partner in 3 years and 4 years and 5 years. You just didn't really know. Whereas now it's a little bit more, there's sort of fewer options that more people know about. So in that way, it's almost like easier to look at like what your options are from a technology perspective. That said, there's always new things coming out too that people want to try. And so, I think there's lots of cool new things as well that, we're pretty excited about. And even with HiMama too, we just think we've really just scratched the surface with what we're doing with our technology. So, when I share sort of like our mission and what we want to do, obviously that's a very big goal. And there's a long way to go. So, those are a couple of the things that I've sort of noticed over time in terms of like the technology landscape.
It's definitely a growing area in so many ways, and and it's evergreen, it's ever changing. Like there's never one day it's one thing and one day it's the next, and there's always a lot of growth and development. So it's definitely something that I've seen over the last 3 and a bit years, that we've grown just so much in so many cool ways. So it's been cool to see. I want to pivot again and talk about advocating for childcare. Of course, this is a huge thing right now in Canada. We're talking about, universal childcare. I know down in the US, they're talking about their plan and how it's going to help and rescuing childcare and happening down there. Do you have any tips around maybe getting out there, being positive, being that positive impact that we talked about? And it's something we strive to do and always to do here at HiMama. Any advice around that for educators, director owners, even parents?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best advice is to think about it in like small chunks. So to think about, how can I advocate for early childhood education and move our profession forward? It's almost just feels overwhelming. There's so much to do. It's so hard. So that almost can kind of result in feeling overwhelmed and then in not knowing what to do. So I almost just like really encourage people to think about your direct circle of influence. If you're an educator, like, how can you talk to your parents and your families about early childhood education and why it's so important for their children? Like, just take that example. If every early childhood educator in the world did that, then every parent in the world would be getting educated about how important early childhood education is, which is huge.
Yeah.
Right. So if you just think the power of everybody coming together to do something small, that's how I would think about advocating for early childhood education, as opposed to, let's let NAEYC and 0 to 3 and all those other folks, go talk to the government and everything. That's what they do. You can do your part by chatting and educating folks in your life.
I think I agree with you 100%. Is something we talked about in the early winter, actually, about, just where to start was like one of the big things, and echoing your small steps. Take the small steps of where you can actually impact, because you're right, you get overwhelmed right away with trying to make it. Smaller steps lead to a bigger impact for the most part. Whereas if you look at the big picture, want to achieve it right away, you generally will fall before you get there and maybe not get back up to continue on what you want to do. So I want to talk a little bit about, of course, I'm part of that generation, and maybe Ron, you might find yourself in there as well, but phones first have been, of course, my generations were always stuck into it. What about your focus, or do you foresee, future tech potentially being the focus of getting off the phone or getting off the device? Or do you think we're not going to be into that sort of place? Do you think it will have a big impact like that?
I mean, when I think about technology, like I think a key part of it is it's balance. It's all about balance. I was in some of my podcasts. One point somebody made to me once, which really resonated with me, was, and this person that was, very well versed in technology and early childhood education, studied it and practiced it daily. And he said to me, as early childhood educators, we're doing a disservice to children if we're not teaching them about technology, exposing them to technology, educating them around technology, because technology is going to be part of their life in the future. So in the same way that, we're all encouraging children to explore and learn through play and all the other things we're doing in the classroom, it's going to be an important part of their future. And so they should be exposed to it and in some way, but the balance is key. So, and that's where I think the training comes in too, for educators to know, what is that right balance, and, what's too much or too long or what have you.
It's 100%. It's, I think, something too that COVID has presented us with, the fact that, especially working from home, for example, I'm sure you have to find that balance between working from home with your family, for example, and the same thing for myself. But on the same side, it's like you have to find the balance of getting off your tech, getting out, getting, supporting your mental health, getting physical, those sorts of things. It applies in so many other places as well. And just reminding yourself of that constant balance, I think, is something that will lead you to higher success moving forward. So I just wanted to take a second to shout out Sherry in the chat here, because to echo what you were talking about, going back to advocating. And Sherry, I'm going to read this verbatim. You said talking to your families first and educating them exactly is what you do. Plus, your mom encouraged you to elevate your position by not just saying I'm a teacher, but to say I'm an early childhood educator. I agree with that 150%. It definitely opens up the conversation a lot. So Sherry, fabulous point that I just wanted to point out because it was absolutely amazing. So Ron, your podcast. Why did you start the podcast? I know you said it was, some like that little back project that you love doing. Tell us a little bit about what fueled that for you.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to the advocating question, right? Because I kind of thought, how can I best advocate? And I'm not an expert in early childhood education, but I'm the CEO of a technology company. I know technology, and so I thought, how can I use technology as a medium to spread the word about early childhood education? And I started researching podcasts and realized there wasn't too much out there for early childhood education specifically. And this was, I think, over 5 years ago now. And so I just started off, and I contacted one of our customers, Debbie, and she was more than delighted to be my first ever guinea pig and first guest, and went from there. And for me, ever since then, actually, the purpose of the podcast has never changed, which is two things. One is to provide knowledge and inspiration. So knowledge is like, what are things that I can learn and maybe apply in my classroom, and then the inspiration is, we all know how difficult and challenging early childhood education is as a role. And so, inspiring everybody to go out and continue to be motivated and make that impact, whether that's on 100 children or one child, it all is a massive impact. So.
Agreed. Do you have any funny memories or, shareable memory you have about the podcast so far? 250 is quite a bit. So I'm sure you've had something along the way has definitely made you laugh or chuckle or whatever it may be across that you'd love to share with us.
Yeah, I mean, and part of me doing the podcast as well, another sort of selfish reason, was just for me to stay really in tune with what's going on in early childhood education and stay connected. So I've had so many amazing conversations and met so many amazing people. I oftentimes come off of doing a podcast and I'm just it just re-energizes me, reminds me why we do what we do. And one in particular, I think, really stood out to me because it really kind of hit home, like why we do it. It was a perfect example. And it was from one of our HiMama's Early Childhood Educator of the Year folks. And she had won, this is sort of a couple years ago, I think, and her name's Neri Payne in Canada. And her story was that, she was living in Colombia, and her son was kidnapped, which was, of course, very tragic. They were very lucky, and he found his way home. But he was very traumatized by the whole experience, and it affected him mentally and emotionally. He wasn't sleeping. He just felt unsafe living in Colombia. And Canada accepted them to immigrate to the country. And she started a home childcare program there. And her son it was kind of like the flip of a light switch. He felt safe. He could be a kid again. And she was so happy that they had a life in Canada, and his experience had turned around, that she kind of took that passion and put it all into her work with her home childcare program as a way to like give back to Canada and to the community, which was why she was such an amazing early childhood educator. And the reason I love that story is because she maybe has sort of 5 or 6 families she works with who all know how amazing she is, but otherwise no one knows her story and how all the amazing work that she does and her dedication and passion. And the Early Childhood Educator of the Year awards in the podcast is just our way to amplify, that amazing work that she does. And that is so representative of early childhood educators who take so much passion into their work every day.
I remember the day in the office, actually, that you told us that story, that you'd announced who was the winner, and it was just about to go to the public and everything, and it had been picked. And I just remember there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Like, we were all having that moment of this is why we do this. And it's definitely been a huge driver. Mary, she's usually here. I don't know if she's here today, but Mary, if you are here, thank you for all you do, and every single educator as well who's out there on listening today. So Ron, before we wrap up, 1 or 2 more questions, and then we're going to sadly hit the road for the day. But what's your thoughts on the future of childcare? We know COVID has been a huge impact as to changes, as to, there's, educators who have potentially lost their jobs, or, low enrollment. There's so many things that have been happening. On the same side, I think it's also shown us a pretty big light of an area for, why we want to drive change, why we want to have, a better working environment potentially. There's so many good things that are coming out of it, but what's your thoughts on how this might change in the next year or 2, maybe even 5 years down the road?
Yeah, I'm super optimistic. So, we talk about this a lot on the Preschool podcast, and, oftentimes, like for years, it's always kind of like, we're making some progress, but it's slow, but we're making some progress. You know what? I'm really optimistic. I think we're turning a corner. I think that we're seeing serious money from serious governments going into early childhood education. And I think we're seeing the resilience of early childhood education and early childhood educators through COVID-19. It's been so challenging. I mean, if we've made it through this, we can make it through anything. And to see that resilience and innovation and ability to adapt, is only going to make early childhood education stronger, and has made everybody see, from parents to government institutions, how important early childhood education is. So I'm feeling really good about the future of early childhood education, and for the role that early childhood educators are going to play as an important profession in our world.
150%. Ron, is there any last pieces of advice, words of wisdom, happy thoughts, anything you'd like to leave the crew with today?
I think I'll just take the wise advice from most of my podcast guests, which is take care of yourself. I don't think we can say that one enough. Early childhood educators, you're all, used to serving others and putting yourself last, but you have to take care of yourself too. That's very important. So make sure you take a break when you need it, take a day off. Certainly we can understand why you need to do that. So find out how to re-energize and take those breaks. You deserve it.
Ron, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you on. It's been such a pleasure just having conversation with you. I've been wanting to do this for such a long time. Happy birthday, HiMama. Thank you once again for being a part of the webinar series now. I can finally say that after all these episodes. So it's exciting to have you. Thank you once again for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. Been awesome. And thanks to everybody for joining.
It's been wonderful. I'm going to jump into wrap up now, folks, just so we can cover the last little bits. But next week's a bit different. So for anybody who's typically with us, we usually go every Thursday. Folks, we are not here next Thursday. This is the big one. If anything, please, please, please do not show up at Thursday at 2 o'clock next week. We're actually going to be doing it on Wednesday because next week is July 1. So for us up here in Canada, that is our Canada Day. I know you folks down in the States are celebrating July 4, just not too much later. But please, we will be here next Wednesday at 2. We are bringing Ron, not this Ron, other Ron, back from last time. If you're with us, he did our behavioral mastery class. So if you enjoyed him, please do come back. He will be with us on Wednesday, same time, from 2 to 3, just different day, not to throw you guys off for a week or two. For the show notes, folks, if you have been with us here, you will receive a certificate. It will be coming to your email. So please do keep an eye. It will be coming in the next couple of days, okay? As well as the show notes. They will also be coming. So you will have a link to the slides. You will have a link to the recording. And if you are accessing the webinar recording, there will be a certificate as well available for you there too. Okay, so please just be patient. It is a little bit to just get everything out, but it will be coming for you. So just keep your eye out between now and after the weekend. If you missed it, and I'll get Kai to pop this in the chat as well, but if you'd love to listen not only to the preschool podcast, but we also have the episode that Kaya and Ron did about the 250, and we would love for you to listen. So please do check us out. But don't forget to follow us on social media. So if you want to check out our Facebook page, check out our Instagram page, or join our Circle Time group, we would love to have you a part of our family on social media and the fantastic community that we have going on there. And as well, sign up for our newsletters. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletters. They're there to just get information out and open into the wider community that we have going on, and it'd be fantastic to have you join us. Miss Kaya, as always, did you wear your hat? She did.
Yeah, I found the hat. It was in a box. Oh, it still spins somehow. Yeah, I got my crazy hat on. I'm gonna have to step up my hat game if Ron is coming back. The other Ron's coming back because he has like wigs and hats, and he has a lot happening. So I'm gonna have to step up my game between now and then.
You will. You definitely will. Miss Kaya, was there anything I might have missed, or are we good? We're good for the folks here today.
Yeah, I got it all. I'm really excited for next week. We have a really great webinar lined up. So can't wait to see you all next Wednesday.
Awesome. All right. As always, folks, please do stay healthy, stay happy, stay safe. We can't wait to see you next week, Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. I won't be here on Thursday. I'll be enjoying probably the backyard at that point, Kai. I'm sure you will as well. And enjoying some time off with the family. So please enjoy your July long weekend as well. If you can't make us next weekend, we'll see you after the break if you are taking a bit of time off. But thank you so much, Ron, as well. Thank you again for joining us, taking the time with us to be here today. It's been such a pleasure. All the best, everybody.